Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Open 2023. Nearly got the year wrong. That'd have been a new one. Preview. Just like to check firstly that everybody can hear me. I've got a slightly different technical setup, so please, if people would just confirm they can see and hear me. And then we'll get into it. And thank you all for coming along. Morning, Dean. Hope it's lovely out in La Manga. I'm sure it is. Morning, Scotty. Hope you're well. Morning, Neil CC, Steve Mander, Martin. Good morning, Tom. Lovely to see you. About to tee off myself at the Homer Golf Leeds Golf Club. Okay, Tom. Getting one of our Spurs player development people, aren't you? Nobody knew what you did at Spurs. Tony, morning. Ben, morning. Greg, lovely to see you. Kevin Kelly, morning. Nitesh, change that silly badge. Steve, change that badge. You can hear it right. Morning. Good. Mark, good morning, Mark. Mark and Andy, my on-course reporters yesterday. They went to the practice day yesterday. It's all right for some. See, in this racing game, you just take a day off when you like. Morning, Steve Elliott. Hope you're well, mate. And Tim Clark. Hope you're well. Right, let's get into it. This is, without doubt, the finest sporting event of the year. I won't have anything else said about it. We return to Hoylake for the Open Championship 2023, the 151st Open. I'm going to do a quick preview. It won't be as many slides and things as I did for the Masters, but there's only two things, sporting events. Well, this one I watch every year religiously, and Cheltenham's probably the only other one that I genuinely give up a lot of time and sit down and try and watch every race. Unlike that Garden Nursery event back in April that has about 10 potential winners, we're set for a cracking week of golf and excitement. No green jacket, doddery old fucking referees getting in the way, giving silly daft rulings. Remember Ernie Els smacking it in a load of old cabbage in the woods? His official referee said you can't have it, little old bloke in a green jacket. No, you can have a drop. None of that old nonsense, none where we can only have 5 or 6 people who know the course win. We have got a proper golf tournament, the Open Championship, great drama over the years. Mickelson v Stenson, last year's final round was a cracker. Nicholas v Watson, Jacqueline v Trevino, Seve v Johnny Miller, Seve at St Andrews, Daly v Rocker, Watson nearly winning, Van der Velde, Garcia Harrington, Faldo 18 pars. It has turned out some absolute crackers. It is simply the best show on earth, best golf tournament by a mile, unless you're a complete and utter bell end. And I think it's one of the greatest sporting drama events as well. I just think it is a fantastic event. So we return to Hoylake, just outside Liverpool. I have played the course, played it a couple of times. Obviously, it's different now, changed. It was last here in 2014 when McIlroy won, and I have got the leaderboard for that. It's just interesting to see if you can see that. So McIlroy won, Fowler was second, and it is something I do like to look back and see on the Open. People who've done well, going back in my sort of betting days when I was just a young person. A friend of mine actually qualified for the Open at Birkdale, and I went up for the tournament and I looked, and O'Meara had finished well at Birkdale the previous time it had been there, and then of course he went on and won, and that kind of thing is something that I do look at, and you can see we've got McIlroy won, then Fowler there. We have lost the likes of Garcia, Furyk, Leishman, Dubuisson, McDowell, Carlson, Ryan Moore, some of them through age, obviously, in the case of people like Furyk, and others through the dividing golf and live. And we still don't know where all that is going to sit, and the uncertainty that we've had for the 2 years and what's going on at the minute. But the winner that year was a certain Mr. Rory McIlroy, who have to say won in spectacular fashion last week. Birdied the last 2 holes. I did watch the end of that tournament. He missed a putt on 16, par 5. He got it up to about 10 feet out of the thick rough. And when he missed that, I thought he'd probably done his chance. Absolute fantastic iron shots at 17, 18. And he pipped Rob McIntyre, who obviously being a Scot would have been an absolute dream of his to win the Scottish Open. But McIlroy, deserving winner, 2 cracking shots at the last. He is still chasing a major since 2014. The pressure to build, to win a major builds each time. I think he's really hyped up. I read a really interesting article yesterday in doing my research for this. I mean, one thing I love it, and I do think Sky do. I'm not keen on some of the Sky commentators, but that's just personal opinions. And I do think Sky do a good job of these things. I still crave the days of Alice on the BBC, but if there's one thing about the coverage that does annoy me is how much they talk about Rory McIlroy. I mean, Paul McGinley's basically wanking himself off every time he catches sight of McIlroy. And it drives you a bit mad. I just get fed up with it. I end up turning the commentary off a lot like I do with football. But somebody made a valid point that while we're talking about him, and he is a fantastic golfer, of course he is. He hasn't won a major for 9 years. You've got a guy in the field, Brooks Koepka, who's won 5 majors since 2017, finished first and second in 2 majors this year already, and barely anybody's given a squeak. And you do wonder whether it's sort of live guided or whatever. But, you know, everybody just talks about McIlroy non-stop, and it does get a bit boring for me personally. Of course, he's got good chance. He's got fantastic chance here. He's playing well. He's a good golfer. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of what goes on FTS Telegram groups, but somebody put out the OWGR ratings. I think there's a better golfer than Rory McIlroy at the moment. It's Scotty Scheffler, and I think he's rightly world number 1. Only one golfer has won the Scottish Open and the Open in the same year, and that was Phil Mickelson in 2013. You know, there's a couple of stats like that I'll have today. You can read into that what you like. I do think it's the pressure thing with McIlroy a little bit as well in these events. He's the one thing I'll say, he has competed better in the majors over the last 12 months. There was a period where he just wasn't in them, and people go, well, he did finish 10th. He was miles back and he'd shoot 65, 66 the last day and end up being 10th. He did that in the Masters in 22 when he held the bunker shot. But he was 3rd here last year in the Open at St Andrews. Looked at one stage like he might win it when he held the bunker shot on 10, I think it was. He held the fairway bunker shot or the long bunker shot. Never converted. Had a chance in this year's US Open, came 2nd. Fair play, Wyndham Clark played really well coming down the stretch. But so he has been knocking on the door again, rather than that period where he just never, I never looked at it and thought he could win. I'll be surprised personally if he wins this week. I'll be really surprised, but I do fully expect him to be up there. When he won in 2014 and when Woods won in 2006, the course was hard and fast, and I did that, and then I saw one of the players, Michael Kim, actually did a comparison, which I've seen this morning. He's got a photo of the fairways when McIlroy won. I think it's McIlroy, it might be Woods, but with fairways being hard and brown. Obviously, it's grim up north. They've had a bit of rain. The rain is continuing. I think it's raining today. There's going to be rain tomorrow morning. There's going to be rain Friday morning. So it is playing longer and greener. And the back 9 is the longest back 9 on the Open rotor. So I do think that whilst there's not a lot of wind, you don't need a lot if it's a bit softer and you're getting 12, 15 mile an hour winds at you. And that back 9 plays into the wind normally. It's going to be fairly long. And I think it will suit the ball strikers and the longer hitters this week. So I do think length will be a big advantage. Eyes on our leaderboard. Fowler was 2nd that week. He's resurged back to form, winning a couple of weeks back. Obviously, that's dented his price. I put in the FTS Golf Telegram group. I thought, I think he's due to win soon. And I actually had an eye on this. I thought he'd be a really good bet for this. Because he won that week. The week I put that, 3 days later, he won the playoff at the Rocket Mortgage, and his price has tumbled down. It's just great. For me personally, I just think it's great to see him back. I think he's one of the real good guys in golf. He could have easily been one who walked off to live and took a big payday and kind of hung it up. And I just think it's great that you see somebody who drops off the earth, and a lot of people have done it in golf, but actually to battle your way back is really difficult. And it's just, I thought it was great to see him win the other day. Adam Scott was on this leaderboard, tied for 5th. Somebody who should, when we're talking an Open drama, four shots clear. Adam Scott, the year Els won, whatever that was, 2003, something like that. He's always steady. Can never write him out, but again, not one. I always felt Scott might win a claret jug, but I think his days may be gone. And we had Lowry on here, subsequently gone on and won an Open at Portrush. I expect he'll be okay. I expect he'll another one. I think he'll probably be hanging about up there. He's a decent links golfer. I'm not sure his game's where it needs to be to win. The one that really catches my eye here is Dustin Johnson. I'm going to go through the players in a minute, but Johnson was 8 back that year. He is somebody, I watched him at George's the year that he should have won and didn't. I always thought Johnson would win an Open Championship. I still think he might. I think of all the live guys, for me, he's probably the biggest miss. But it's so difficult with these live guys to know what their competitive edge is, and that's one of the things. But I think Johnson, out of all this lot, I think Johnson is a bit too big. Personally, I think he is the one at 40 that I really think, you're a little bit overpriced. So with that, good morning. Just a couple of good mornings. People have joined us. Suggsy, good morning. Chris Wilkinson, morning. Andy, good morning. Lovely to see you. Murphy, AJ, lovely to see you. Benjamin, I couldn't agree with you more. When McKinley comes on, I just have to press the mute button. And Laura Davis can talk some twaddle. You get in trouble if you say that, don't you now? But there you go. So the betting is led by 2 golfers, McIlroy and Scheffler. Scheffler has an AM/PM start, so he's out Thursday morning, Friday afternoon. McIlroy's out Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. We've got rain forecast both days, pretty much through the week, and the pattern looks like morning, raining in the morning, easing off in the afternoon. Don't think it's going to be heavy rain. I think it's going to be patchy. Don't think it's going to be desperately, but particularly I think for some of the American players, it will affect you. But obviously you've got it both days. I always think in this situation, there's just a slight advantage to the guys who've got the afternoon round on the first day. Because obviously they've got the best conditions on the first day. They can get themselves a cushion 2 or 3, and then they got the rain the next morning, yes, but you've got that 2 or 3 shot cushion. I'm not going to say it's massive, but if I was playing, I sort of looking at it, think if I was playing, what would I like? I would prefer to be Thursday afternoon, Friday morning. So McIlroy's maybe got the best of it, but without doubt, Scotty Scheffler is the best golfer in the world by a country mile currently. It is Tiger-esque when you look at the numbers between seeing what he's playing golf like. And unfortunately, golf is 2 games within one. You have got the game of golf of ball striking and getting the ball around the golf course, and then the game of putting, of getting the ball in the hole. And whilst he has played Tiger-esque golf, he has putted like Gary Smith. And for those of you who don't know Gary, he is an FTS member who's got probably the biggest yips you've ever seen. And 8 inches isn't safe. He hasn't been outside a top 12 in an event since November 22, Scheffler. I mean, for those of you who follow golf, you know what those numbers mean. It is incredible. He's not been out of the top 5 since April. Last event in April that he played. Everything he's played since then, May, June, July, sorry, I'm not got August yet. He hasn't been out the top 5. Tee to green, he is miles ahead. You know, people go on about Scheffler. He goes along quietly. If he could have putted, he'd nearly have won all these events. It's just incredible. Even last week, he finished third last week. He was 63rd out of 77 of the people who made the cut putting. It's just terrible on the green. So you're kind of left with a choice with those 2 at the front. You've got a guy at the top that you can, both of them at 9.4. Do you want to back a guy who, in the best tournament in the world, on a tough golf course where there might be a little bit of damp and drizzle, on a tough layout against top players? You got to remember that they're not the only 2 in it. There's top players in behind them. Do you want to back either of them pre-event at 9.4? One who absolutely dominates everybody tee to green, but is struggling to get the ball in the hole, and the other one who won last week, fantastic golfer, but who has got this sort of monkey on his back of not winning a major since 2014 and that pressure growing all the time. Do you want to back either of those at 9.4 is the question you've got to ask yourself. For me, the question is simply no. Not many golf events I bet pre-event. I do like to have bets pre-event in this. And I do, again, I treat it very much like Cheltenham. I'll throw a couple of grand at it pre-event. My main play will come Friday morning if there's trading opportunities. But do I want to back either of those at 9.4 pre-event? No. I'd rather miss. If one of them wins, fair enough. If Rory runs away with it like he did in 2014, fair enough. If Scheffler comes out and plays like he did when he won the Masters, fair enough. I've missed that. I'm happy to miss it at the price. The one thing with this, and this is where you learn, well, I always try with these things, whilst I try and make them entertaining, pass on knowledge. They are both golfers where the market will react. If they make one birdie, the market will react. So I would rather watch how they get on, actually hope that neither of them start brilliantly. Their price holds or drifts out a bit, and I can see how they're playing, see how Scheffler's putting. And then I can back them in play, and when they make a couple of birdies, as they will, then I can trade them. So that's how I would rather play those two golfers than stick my, I could put them back them both at 9.4, and they could both be out of it tomorrow. You can't, as I say, I don't think they will be. I think they'll both be up there. You can't win a tournament on day one, but you can only play yourself out of it. I think the way golf's gone now, that front page there, we've got golfers up to 40. I think any one of them is capable of winning it. They're all fantastically good golfers. Just Scheffler and McIlroy, Rahm are the ones who've been above everybody. And Koepka, you've got to put him in the mix for the way he's been playing. So that really is the question. So then in behind those, we have Jon Rahm at 15. Jon Rahm at the start of the year, he was the best player in the world. That's how quickly things change. He was absolutely phenomenal around that Christmas, January, February period. He's gone off the boil a bit by his standards. That's what you're talking about, by his standards since winning the Masters. He's a fantastic competitor. He's won for the shortlist, and this gives me a chance to unveil one of my sort of top stats of the week. And again, you take these things with a pinch of salt. The last 13 Open champions had not finished in the top 25 of the previous Open. So I've got a slide that if that stat held up, if I can find the slide, that rules out all these guys. That rules out McIlroy, Scheffler, Hovland, Spieth, Cantlay, Smith, Shuffle, Lowry, Fitzpatrick, Young, Fleetwood, Johnson, DeChambeau, Ancer, Hatton, Herbert, Scott, Molinari, Kim, Lee, Horschel, Harman, Mullinax. That's your top 25 from last year. If that stat holds up, none of those are winning. Of course, you take these stats with a pinch of salt. You look at them two ways. You look and think, well, that can't possibly continue. Or I can't back any of them because that stat is going to hold up. Basically, I take them with a pinch of salt. But the one name that wasn't on that list, who wasn't in the top 25 because he finished 34th last year, is Jon Rahm. So if that stat does hold up, your winner's going to be Jon Rahm or Bobby McIntyre. There you go. But it's just a really interesting, amazing, really. It's actually quite an amazing stat that hasn't happened. So Rahm's one I really quite like this week, I think, at 15. I do. Again, I think he'll be up there. I think he's fantastic short game, great long iron player, good driver of the ball. He's been competitive this year, even if his form has dipped a little bit, and that obviously gets reflected in the price. We've then got the defending champion Cam Smith, 23. If he hadn't gone to Live, he'd be half the price. Now with Live, it's difficult to determine. That's the thing. It's just difficult to determine their performance against the PGA Tour, and I think that's one of the sort of sad things about it. In the case of Johnson and Smith, the rest of them, people like Poulter and that, they've gone for the money. It's simple, off you go. It's not going to change that. It doesn't really change the face of golf. But in the case of sort of Koepka, Johnson, Smith, and I think Koepka's slightly different just mentally. We'll come to him in a minute. It's just so difficult. Johnson, I really like him. I just think he might have just down tools for life and thought, well, I'm getting 200 million off Live. I'm going to pick up a couple of million an event. I've only actually got 4 or 5 people over there to beat. and then you come and turn up at a major and you've got to try and compete. But I do think he's got a chance. But getting back to Cam Smith, won last week, Live London. I've no idea. I'm sure he'll put up a stout defence of his title. He's capable of putting his way to victory anywhere. I just personally, for me, because of the Live, I just can't back him. I just don't know where. Again, he'll be one I'll look and see him play, see how he starts tomorrow. He's got an AM PM start. We'll see how he goes. Next is Kupka, 24. I think it's an astounding price, to be fair, for Kupka. 24, second at the Masters, won the PGA, 17th in the US Open, third at Live Valderrama 3 weeks back. He's played 8 Opens. He's got 4 top 10s. He opened up with a 68 here in 2014. He's just got a different mindset. And somebody sort of said, one of the guys asked me, Benjamin, I think this morning, he's being paired with Patrick Cantlay tomorrow morning. And he's very sort of, he was outspoken about Cantlay's pace of play because he had Cantlay holding him up at the Masters. Will it phase him? I don't think it will. I think he's probably the closest golfer we've seen, I think, mentally to Nick Faldo, the way he plays the majors. I think he's just all out for them. He had his injury problems. He's obviously got those behind him. He'll have his own reasons for going to Live. He's got a baby on the way. Maybe that's a bit of a distraction. I don't know. At 24 pre-event, I've got to have a little bit on him because I think he's going to be, I think he'll be up there. I think he is absolutely driven to win as many majors as he can. And he's got one in the bag this year. He probably should have had 2. He had a fair, you look at it, he probably should have won the Masters. He'll probably be kicking himself. Again, I can't not see him up there. Out of those top 5 in the betting, Kupka and Rahm, to me, who fought out the Masters, look like the boys I'd want to be on. We then get to Hovland. Hovland's got a PM/AM start, so maybe getting the best of it tomorrow. He was 7th at the Masters, 2nd at the PGA, won the Memorial, 19th US Open, been solid in the majors this week. Had a win, Memorial's big event that he won. 25th last week. Good iron player, back 9 here, won't hold any fears. Played 2 Opens, was 4th last year. I couldn't, ultimately you can't back them all, but I couldn't put you off backing him. Another one, I think you'll see him up and around the leaderboard. I'm not saying he wins, but I think you'll see him up there. Again, this is why I kind of like to wait till Friday, see which of these guys has got off. And I'd rather back them at half a price Friday and be able to trade it, knowing that half the field are out of it already. Well, actually, the 2/3 of the field will be out of it already come Friday morning. So that's why I like to do it. Cantlay playing with Kupka, as we've said, slow playing, he's ridiculous, and slow playing golf is nonsense and people don't deal with it. They should deal with it. I like this little comment here. Gary Smith, he puts like no arms. Gary Smith, yeah. And Scheffler's copying him. It is incredible watching Gary putt. Sorry, Gaz, but it is incredible. They just don't. I mean, it is ruining the sport. I mean, I play with an FTS guy, and he started doing the aim point thing, standing with the old lines across, just bin it all off. I mean, anybody who's played with me, and there's a few of you had, I get on with it. Walk fast, play golf, get on with it. Your first look's your best look. All the faffing around they do, and Cantlay's the worst. But I think it'll affect Cantlay more than Kupka. I think he'll be more aware of holding people up than Kupka. Kupka, I think, will just shrug it off. Not for me. He's a good mate with Xander. Holidays with Xander. You turn into Xander. He was somebody I thought would push on in the world of golf. St Andrews is a slightly unique course, bit short. They're talking of how they overpowered it. There was no weather last year. This will be a bit more of a test than St Andrews. Georges was the Open before, and that was a test. Always is. My favourite golf course on the planet, Royal St George's, and he missed the cut there. He missed the cut last week in Scotland. I don't see Cantlay featuring this week. I see perhaps Kupka chinning him on the 18th after Friday afternoon, and that'll be done. Ricky Fowler, as I said, I say it again, just great to see him back in the mould. Fantastic form this year from a guy that, and he, as I said, he could have gone 42nd last week. He's had a 2nd, a 5th, a 6th at the Open. The second was here, obviously, showed you the leaderboard. I like him here this week. As I say, I just wish it was a bigger price. I just wish, whilst I love to see him win, I just almost wish he hadn't, because we'd have got a bigger price here for him. So Fowler at 30, it's probably about right now. I don't see there's a massive amount in it. Xander 30 next, please. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm moving on. If Xander wins, I'll get a job. There you go. Morikawa 36. Again, another name people aren't really talking about. Absolutely imperious. He's won on his Open debut. Hadn't played an Open before. Turned up at Royal St George's, arguably with Carnoustie the hardest course on the Open rota, and turns up and wins. I was down there, absolutely imperious. I went with Gary Smith, funny enough. But then he misses the cut last year at St Andrews. His form's been really patchy this year. He should have won the Century Tournament of Champions round about the Christmas period. Blew it in amazing fashion. Just remember watching him duff a wedge. Looked like me with a wedge. And then he went out the next week. I thought, that would be interesting to see. Probably should have won the Farmers, had a chance, ended up finished third. So I thought, maybe it hasn't affected him. But he's then had 5 missed cuts and a withdrawal since then. He's had 3 top 10s. He was second last time out. So it's kind of which Collin Morikawa turns up. If any form Morikawa turns up, he will be in the mix, because his iron play is so good. And again, that back nine where they're having to hit some longer irons in, there's no one better in the game other than probably Scheffler. So Collin's really one that definitely you want to be having a look at, see how he plays tomorrow. He wouldn't be one I'd want to ever take to the end, given what I've seen this year, but he's certainly one whose price will move if he is remotely on form. So when you're looking for these trading angles, he's one that I would definitely look at. We got Hatton and Fleetwood. I missed those two out. Sorry, Hatton and Fleetwood. Hatton's PM AM, Fleetwood's AM PM, 30 and 34 respectively. Both will probably do okay. I can't help feel that Hatton's on-course demeanour. I've got no problem with the guy if he wants to swear and do that. I think we need some characters in sport. I just think it probably affects him. I just think back in the day when players did that, it was kind of the whole attitude of thing. It's a bit like McEnroe at tennis. I think now the players around you are so good. There's so many who are so good that it just giving them, if you're giving them half a shot on advantage because you're losing your head a little bit, you're done. You're basically going to do your own chances. And I think for his own sake, he needs to find a way to get a grip of that, because I think it affects him on the golf course. As I've said before with Rahm, and I think Rahm has got the hang of it. I remember seeing Rahm go for a shot out of a bunker that just wasn't, and completely losing his head. And I just thought, it's all your own fault. And I've seen it with DeChambeau on a rolling. It affects you. And I just think that he affects himself more than anything. And he should try and get it under. Fleetwood, he's just become a bit of a time form squiggle, isn't he, for me? Playing really well. Another one I think I sort of said in one of the tournament things I did before. It looks like he's ready to win, but then he never gets it done. He doesn't seem to get over the line. I think Fleetwood will win again at some time. I'm not sure it will be this week. It's sort of round his part of the world. I think he'll go well. I do think, I think he'll trade lower this week, Tommy Fleetwood. I really do. But I wouldn't want to be backing him to win with leaving it. I do think he'll be there or thereabouts. DJ, I've said 48th at the Masters, 55th at the PGA, tied 10th US Open. So all we have is the live form, and has he down tools? I just don't know. You never really knew when he was playing well with his demeanour, because he's the other way and he just walks along and like not caring the world. Hit it out of bounds at George's. Oh well, shrugged his shoulders. 6th last year, great chance to win in 2011 and blew it. I just think 40 is too big. I think it's a bit. I'm going to go through the people I've backed in a minute. I just think I'd kick myself, because I do think another one he'll trade lower. There's people on this leaderboard I wouldn't touch, or on this top of this betting I wouldn't touch. Cantlay, Shuffle, Hatton, Not really fussed about Hovland Smith at the minute. But I do think the likes of Fleetwood, Morikawa, if he goes well, Johnson, they just trade lower. I just think they will trade lower. So out of that top lot, for me, Rahm and Koepka are the main protagonists. I've backed both. I do think they both will trade lower, or they'll offer an exit if they're not trading lower. And the one I haven't covered there, sorry, at the bottom is Jordan Spieth. I got there. He's AM PM. Around Masters time, he looked to be getting back to his best. Third at the Valspar, fourth at the Masters, second in the Heritage when he maybe should have won it. And then since that second, he's gone miscut 29th, miscut 5th, miscut. He's a fantastic open player. Got a claret jug, 8th last year, 2nd the year before. He's not out the top 20 in his last 5 opens. Again, massive overreaction golfer on the exchange. He starts well. His price halves. His price drops into 10, 12, 14. So he's one that again I'll have money on with a view to that. So out of that top leaderboard, the golfers that I've got on the screen now, hopefully you can see that. I like Rahm and Koepka are my main protagonists at the prices. I think if Koepka wasn't a live player, he'd be much shorter. I think Rahm, people perhaps writing him off a bit too early compared to the other two. So I'm backing both, as I think they both will trade lower. I am then backing Fleetwood, Spieth and DJ, again, purely with a view to trade them. And you can do whatever you like with them, dob them, whatever. I'm going to be watching the golf. I'm going to be doing football work for the season. I'm not going to be able to sit and spoon feed you. These are the players I'm backing. I will manage my position across the lot. I'm not saying every single one of them will trade, but in effect, I need one of Fleetwood, Spieth and DJ to shorten up, and I'll be able to get out for no risk. And I've got to have small money on Ricky Fowler, just because I will punch myself in the head if he is up there. I've got other golfers I've backed, but that's off the top. You know, you look at golf these days and you go, the winner will probably come from that front page, the way the game is going. The Open can throw up surprise. It is the one tournament where we can get some drama and good winners. But out of that lot, it all comes down to price. And I think for me, you guys, there'll be people who are listening to this going, they don't agree, and that's right. For me, I justify why I have a bet, and that's it. I don't want to be back in McIlroy and Scheffler to start with. There's golfers I want to dismiss because I either haven't got enough information about them in the forms of Karen and Smith, or I'm Tyrrell Hatton I'm not keen on, Scheffler I'm not keen on. And there's golfers that I think if this happens, they'll move and I can manage my position. So out of that top lot, that's who I am backing. So Rahm and Koepka, and then Fleetwood, Spieth, DJ, and I've got to have a little bit on Ricky. I couldn't put anybody off, and I could easily have included it to Hovland. But as I say, you can't back them all. You could sit here and go, well, I'll back the lot. They're all going to move, but you've got to make ultimately decisions in this game. So that's why I'm at the top of the leaderboard. We then go to the next page. And we see some bigger prices, and I think the standout one that catches your eye is Justin Thomas being 100. I think if anybody had said to you 2 years ago, and we've got to remember the guy who won the PGA last year, somebody said to you 2 years ago, Justin Thomas is going to be 100 for a major, you'd have said, don't be so stupid. Tony's asked about staking. I'll come to that in a minute. No, I think I was quite surprised when I started looking at the prices, but it's absolutely justified. He's in absolute terrible form. He's got a terrible Open record. He's not winning this week. Simple as that. I just don't believe you can be in that form and have the Open record he's got and turn up at a place like Hoylake and win. We got Max Homer here at 80. He was, played 2 Opens. He's had a top 40 and a miscut. First half of this year, you just had to back him top 20 every week. He was like a machine for top 20, but he's missed 4 cuts in his last 9 events. Maybe shoots of improvement. Last week he was 12th in the Scottish, but I kind of just, again, another one. I'll see how he starts. Well, I wouldn't want to be putting money on him now. I'll see how he starts. Matsuyama got a chance. Again, you'd see how he starts. One, Justin Rose is sort of one, you know, 8th miscut, 4th miscut. That's his last 4 weeks. So he's on 8th miscut, 4th miscut. So he must have a top 10 finish in him this week. He's somebody I just couldn't put anybody off having a small bet on Rose at 75. I think, you know, he's had some fine opens. I did think he may win one. Another one, I was at Birkdale when he finished 4th as an amateur, sat in the clubhouse. I don't know whether I've told that story. That was a good story. I sat right in the front. If you look at Birkdale clubhouse, you've got that sort of curved window that's out over the 18th green. I was sat right in the middle of that window. I wanged my way into the clubhouse. That's one for the pod sometime. And I watched him hold that wedge as a young man, and we were both a lot younger. He's just got a fantastic open record. He's won this year. I can see him playing okay. A lot of it will be down to how he putts. You then got people like Fitz, Lowry, Finau, all capable. I've dismissed them all this week. And Sam, can I have a drop out the bunker Burns? I don't know if anybody watched that last week, what was going on there for 15 minutes. I expect they'll all be steady. People I may keep an eye on to trade late in the tournament. Corey Connors, another one. I've no idea. Just not. I've dismissed them from the minute for anything pre-event. DeChambeau, no idea. I mean, one day he turns up looking like Hulk. The next day he turns up sort of with the body shape of me. 250 million in the bank from Liv. Another one I've got no idea. Could be anything. It just could be anything. I don't really understand the guy. I've never really got him, what he's trying to achieve and what he's trying to do. I think he could have been a really, really good golfer when he won the US Open and pushed on. Another one, I think he gets in his own way too much. A bit like some of you with punting, getting your own way too much. So the players, sort of then you look and think, right, out of that lot, do I want anybody on side? I mentioned one in the week. Somebody asked me who I fancied early. I really like Min Woo Lee. I love the way he plays golf. He was 21st last year. He was terrible at the start of the year because I sort of had him, you know, a bit like Andy will probably have horses to watch at the start of the season. I have golfers that you think, I've watched this lad this year. And Min Woo Lee was one for me. And he was terrible at the start of the year. Awful run of form, but he's been okay. He was 5th at the US Open. He was 15th at the Belfry in our Masters a couple of weeks ago. He was 35th last week and didn't really hit the ball great approach play. Hits it miles. Really good attitude. So Min Woo Lee at 100 is one I'm having some small beans on. Cam Young, you've got to have some. Everybody's got to back Cam Young. I'm telling you now, if you back one golf, you've got to back Cam Young. Last year's runner-up, playing great. Been playing great for a year. Got beat in the final of the WGC when I think a lot of people thought he was the favourite and might win. Second last year, 7th in the Masters. He was tied 6th last time out he played. He's had some patchy form. 90 is just too big. Everything is price-driven. It's just too big. Guy finished 2nd last year. 90 is just too big. The guy hits the ball a mile. Fantastic iron player. Yeah, he's out of form. I'm going to throw some money at somebody who's finished 6th last week. Last time out, sorry, at 90. I just can't not. And this is one of the good things. I've talked about this before. Because you've got these two short guys at the top who are rightly there, and nobody's going to take a chance on them because one of them could win it. It has to filter down somewhere. Somewhere there's got to be golfers that, if you think they're a little bit underpriced, somewhere there's got to be golfers that are overpriced. And in the case of Min Woo Lee, and definitely in Cam Young, for me, if I was saying to anybody, back anybody this week, I would say back Cam Young. If you held a gun to me and said back one, you got to remember it's 90. You know, the market's given him a 90 chance. So I'm not saying this guy's going to win. He's just too big a price, and that, you know. You'll all improve your betting if you learn to think like that. He is too big a price this week to be 90. Bobby McIntyre, 100. I'd love to know what price he'd be if he hadn't finished 2nd last week. Another one, been playing really well. Got to say, he's unlucky last week. Played fantastic. You know, McIlroy, fair play. Class came out. McIlroy, as I said, the last two. He was 4th the week before McIntyre. You know, say he's an unlucky loser last week. McIlroy, you know, ran into 2 McIlroy birdies on 17, 18. I I'd love to, you got to say if McIlroy did that 10 times, would he birdie him? Probably once, twice, both of them, and happened to fall into one of them. He's got 2 top 10s in the Open. He'll love the crowd. He'll love the atmosphere. So McIntyre at 100. And the other one I like in these prices is Tom Kim, who did a good showing of himself again last week. And then similar to Min Woo Lee, I think another one. I think he's going to be a bit of a golf superstar, this lad, in time. It's really difficult to become a golf superstar. Scheffler's doing a good go at it, but I think Tom Kim is a fantastic player. And again, 85 is just too big, way too big. You've then got, hang on, let me get to this. I asked ChatGPT, this is the one you're waiting for. I asked ChatGPT last night. I said, so you've got to pick one golfer to win the Open. I missed the or out, but fortunately it understands bad English. Or someone fries your eye chips and unplugs you. Who you picking? I did all my work before I did that. He started giving me the old, as an AI developed OpenAI, I'm not capable of making predictions about future events. However, as of my last update in September 21, some top golfers in the world include Johnson Rahm, Thomas Morikawa, Rory McIlroy, to name a few. Doesn't mention Scheffler. Incredible. How can the AI not there? Any of these golfers could potentially perform well in the Open, depending on various factors such as their current form, fitness, and adaptability to course. Yeah, that's all fair comment. However, golf, like any other sport, is unpredictable and full of surprises, which makes it so exciting to watch, particularly the Open. I just told him to pick one. I said, stop fannying about. I'm going to unplug you, fry you up. And he had to pick one. He said, Jon Rahm. There you are. Jon Rahm was in excellent form in 2021 when he won the US Open. However, this is merely based on historical data and does not guarantee any future performance. Could be me speaking. Golf is unpredictable sport, and success depends on a variety of factors that can change from day to day. So there you go. So ChatGPT, when forced, gun to its head, going to be unplugged, ruin the world, goes for Jon Rahm. I'm up there. Oh, I thought I had another slide there. I thought I've got another slide. Can't find it. There we go. I thought I had another one, boys. I haven't. Right. Okay. What I always do in the Open for me, I'll come back to full screen. Let me get rid of that. Let you see my beautiful little chops. Oh, no, I didn't. I went to take the screenshot. I know what happened now. I'm reminding myself. And there was too many of them. I like to look at, just for the Open, I always like to pick somebody who's 1,000. They're 1,000 for a reason. And I thought when I was getting ready for this yesterday, I thought there'll only be about 15, 20 of them. There's 68 golfers that are 1,000 before a ball is hit. There's 68 golfers that basically the market has said they've got no chance. Past champions, of course, you've got the light of Ernie Els in there, Stuart Sink, Darren Clark playing, and John Daly. Can't remember who's playing with Dale. Oh, Danny Willett's playing with John Daly. Danny Willett's 1,000. I thought Danny Willett, what a fantastic experience. Just to play with John Daly in an Open Championship would just be fantastic. I couldn't care if he shot 85, 95. It'd just be great fun. But I always try and have a look at those and pick one. Pure fun and speculation. Francesco Molinari is 1,000. 15th last year. Won winner in 2018, 11th at Portrush. If ever hitting a ball in the water at 12 at Augusta has killed a career, it was this one. He's on 5 straight miscuts, Frank Molinari. When he won the Open, and then that, whatever it was, the first 65, 66 holes of that Masters, he just looked like a robot. And you look now and go, he's had 5 straight miscuts. But I couldn't have him at 1,000 in an Open Championship. So I'm having a couple of quid. And it literally is a couple of quid on Molinari at 1,000. And whilst I was doing that, I found another one I like at a big price is Davis Riley at 740. I mean, these are absolute, pocket money punts. Davis Riley, top 40 last week, but he led after round one. He had a -7, a -3, and then a couple of bad rounds. Wouldn't surprise me to see him up there on the first day. I'm not by any means saying he'll win it, but I can't have him at 740. So just to recap that, and then I'll do a quick talk about staking. So Rahm, Koepka, Fleetwood, Spieth, DJ. I've backed they're sort of my main bets off the top bet. I've had reasonable money on them. No, I haven't Dutched them. I've had different stakes on them. I've had more money on Kupka, for example, than I have on Spieth. Just the way I weight it, I do think Kupka's one that I'll see up there this week, and Rahm, but I'm getting more money on Kupka because he's a bigger price. Bigger the price, have more on. Ricky Fowler, I've just thrown small money at, nothing big at all, but I haven't Dutched them. No, I've just backed them all for differing stakes. And then I've backed Min Woo Lee, Cam Young, McIntyre, and Tom Kim. Again, not as heavy as the front lot, bigger prices, but got decent money on. And then the bottom two is absolute throwaway money, just Molinari and Davis Riley. My main bets will still come on Friday morning when we see how Thursday unfolds, see what the weather's like, see how the waves get affected. Is there a massive advantage? If the weather's similar on both days, is there a massive advantage in the afternoon? Because if there is, then you look at players who are playing Friday afternoon, and they're the ones that you think, oh, hang on a minute, they might be the ones you want to trade. So all that comes into the calculations on Friday morning, and I will post what I do for free in the chat room. I'll probably do it late Thursday night. I'll probably stay up and do it all then, just because they're teeing off early in the morning on Friday. So those of you who are used to, I genuinely have no idea whether it gets followed or doesn't. But those of you who do, and a few of you I know do, I will post them probably late Thursday night after the conclusion of the first round, and I've had a good look at it, let the prices settle down, assess all the weather, look at the player stats, and go from there. Benjamin, he's made a valid comment there. Only 3 birdies on the final day, and 2 of them were Bob and Rory last week. Astounding finish by McIlroy last week, amazing. And he likes Langasque, Romain Langasque 1000. Right, I hope you've enjoyed it. Any questions before I go? Lots coming up. While anybody's thinking of any questions, I'll be doing a general pod probably tomorrow. I'll get up and watch the start of the golf, then I'll start doing some work bits. I'll be doing a general pod tomorrow. I'll be doing a mindset pod on what day? Monday. I did a YouTube recording with some of you will know him on Twitter, Big Man, yesterday. That was good fun. I'll publish that probably Tuesday next week. Never spoke to him before, nice guy. And then, of course, football starts. Belgium opens up. We'll have an ultimate process next Friday. We're back at it, and it will soon be off. Spurs winning the league. Ange Ball. Marvellous. Be right back into it. I told you it comes around quick. So lots going on. There's still plenty of stuff on the FTS website. I'm making a video for Ultimate Guys today I'll put up. So lots going on, but I hope you've enjoyed that today. Do enjoy the golf. It's a fantastic event. Tim Clark feels Hatton will contend. He may well, Tim, as I said, that front page, so may well. He's just, I think you can't be like that against these players. That's I gave my reasoning and we'll see. But I don't dislike the lad. We'll just see how he goes. But it will be fantastic. Enjoy it. Anybody going, have a lovely time. I know the lads went yesterday. It's the best event in the world. Simple as that. It is absolutely the best event in the world. Right, I will leave you to it. Have a lovely weekend. As I say, there'll be a pod out tomorrow, and I'll post the runners and riders that I'm having a punt on tomorrow night in the FTS golf room. I will see you all later.